Hi, Kat.
Hi, John.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I feel like I may have pushed this too far. I may have pushed this gig too far.
No, what are you talking about?
I mean, the whole let's surprise Kat with the hi, Kat.
Oh no, it's good. I love it every time.
Okay, good.
John, you're good? You're sure you're good? Because I'm going to make sure I get that in there a couple times
Are
to
you
make sure.
asking me? You're asking after my current state of
I am.
Condition? Yeah?
I am.
Okay.
You good?
You know, Kat, I've been waiting for you to ask me this for years, and I'm just really going to unload now. I need to tell you all about what's going on.
John, what are we doing here tonight?
We are doing a podcast, Kat.
John, what's it called?
It is called the My Mistake Podcast, Kat.
What do we do on that podcast?
We talk about mostly mistakes is what we do.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. Sometimes they're your mistakes. Sometimes they're my mistakes. Sometimes they are the mistakes made by a guest, and other times, very rarely, because it takes extra work, we tell stories about mistakes of people in history.
You're right. We do that sometimes.
Yeah, and what are those called, Kat?
Hysterical mistakes.
They are called that because we're clever.
We're very clever.
Yes.
We think we're hilarious.
We do think that. And who else matters, really?
So, John, what kind of podcast are we doing tonight?
We are doing the second of the three that I mentioned. If you remember the sequence, that was the guest type podcast.
Oh,
yes.
That's exciting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's our guest?
Was it my week to do that?
I thought
no.
John, I thought you were getting.
Oh, all right. Actually, Kat, our guest, who just happens to be here in this Zoom with us right now.
Oh, that's who this other person is.
That's who this person we've been looking at, who's been good and quiet the whole time and just behaving herself so well, is Jo Nagle.
Hi.
Jo Nagle. Hi, Jo Nagle.
Oh, hello.
Jo is a songstress, a musician, a practitioner of many arts, and good at all of them. To my knowledge, all of the ones that I have observed in any case. And she has, deigned to come and speak to us about things. Jo, I didn't think you made any mistakes. I didn't think that you had, no?
I mean,
am I wrong about that?
So the mistakes that I bring into you in this case are under the influence, and typically when I'm not under the influence, I don't make many mistakes. And actually, even under the influence, not typically. So it's hard to believe I could make them, but they happen.
Okay, well, sometimes, to generate content, we sometimes will also partake and be under the influence, just so we have something to talk about on this show. Because frankly, we've evolved past mistakes, but, we're doing this show, so we have to keep generating that content.
Yeah, there's a certain sacrifice that we have to, put upon ourselves to create this content, this grade A content that we do. So
come on. Right? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
So welcome to the podcast, Jo.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here and a little more nervous than I anticipated, but I don't know why.
It's because we're so professional. So that's what happens is you get on here and you're like, you just expect us to be, those knockabout buddies that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are talented.
Yeah.
The talent on this screen right now.
I don't think that's it.
No, that's not it. Okay.
Something tells me that's not it.
I was fully engaging with that just in case it was true. I don't think I fooled anybody. It's all right. No. Yeah. So welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about under the influence mistakes. That is like a whole big category that we have. We've had some great ones. I'm very anxious to hear some from you.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I was coming through my list of my list. I made a list. That's my style.
Hey, that's great. Our best guests always do write something down. You can tell.
I did a little test in the waters of which would be kind of good stories, and they're all have their place, but they're some of them I'm not actually under the influence, but some of the better ones are. And I guess I can just go ahead and get started unless
that would be great.
I mean, are you ready though? Are you ready for this? You think?
Oh,
I don't know. Are we?
I don't That's know. As many notes of that as I can say.
So the first one, and depending on how long I go on it, is maybe the only one. We'll see.
Sometimes that happens.
So I've got this story that comes from many, many years ago when I just turned 18. And so I had lived in the Netherlands in high school, and I had this boyfriend, and we decided, when I was moving back to the States, we decided that we would continue a long distance relationship.
That is very long distance.
Very long distance. And at the time, we were fortunate. We did have, at the time, like webcams were a thing, but they were like the stop motion, and you didn't have any audio. So like it was a brave, quote unquote, brave, I guess, decision to do long distance. But it was, like we still had like the internet was pretty boomy, and like it was not as difficult as it would have been maybe years prior when it would have been straight up just letter writing.
Right. When I was 18, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the sort of thing where that could have been the mistake, but that's not the mistake. That's just the beginning of the story. So I moved from the Netherlands to Washington State, and the way that we, stayed in touch and, stayed together, he would come and visit often. And he had family in California and in Washington, and so I could see him a lot, but I had not gone back to visit the Netherlands since I had moved, which was just over a year. And on his last visit before, like one of his last visits to see me, we decided like, okay, I'm going to go and visit him that summer. So we were trying to do this, kind of evening out who's giving as much effort, right? So we made this decision, and I got my ticket. And this happened, my parents and his parents were actually super supportive of us being together, and like they were really cool with the idea. Like my parents were like, yeah, go stay with him. And his parents were like, yeah, come stay with us. It was a very sweet, supportive, that I think they would have been very happy to see us get married. But in getting this ticket, it was, the timing was interesting. So he came to visit me, and my father was very ill. And then shortly after I got the ticket and we made the plans and all that happened, my father passed away. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's, don't worry. This gets nice and light. So that's just part of the story. But
how dare you mention the death of your father, Joe?
The significance of that is that like my state of being just flipped, right? Like I was like, I don't even have the energy to get up. I don't think I can do this long distance thing anymore. So I broke up with him before I went on this trip. But I still had this trip planned because he's not the only person I knew there. And despite the fact that we broke up, we were still friends. So we decided that I would still stay with him when I go to visit because it was his family's house. They had an extra room. And I'm kind of leading you into guessing the mistake, but you might be wrong. I'm thinking you're wrong.
I may totally be wrong.
The real mistake is, what was the mistake here? Was it this one? Like,
yeah, I'm like, because I'm like, breaking up with the guy could have been a mistake, or it might have been the right thing to do. But then deciding to take the trip anyway and then stay with said guy. So basically, the only thing that's changing about the trip is the amount of smoocheroo that's happening with the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
the main change.
That's code for sex on the My Mistake podcast.
Oh, got it.
Main difference. So, so I was going to go anyway. And I had a bunch of mates that, still lived there, and they all wanted to see me when I came to visit, of course. So we were making all these plans. And among those plans, then one of my closest mates said, she was at the time living in England, and she found out that she could come for like 4 or 5 days, something like that, during my trip. And so offered to me to stay with her while she was there to kind of help, like, take away from the awkwardness, right?
Sure.
And I accepted because, like, I was still a little hesitant about staying with my ex and his family. That was the only other person that I could have stayed with. So that worked out great. And I made that decision like maybe a week before I was leaving. And I didn't know that decision was going to upset my ex. He was not pleased.
Was he counting on a certain amount of time to try to put things back together, maybe?
I mean, at the end, like, that's kind of what we figured out, like, and I'll get to when I really discovered that information. But he was making excuses, though. Like, when I told him I was going to stay with her, logically, it made way more sense, right? So I had to, like, talk him down from being upset about this, because he's like, my mom prepared the house. And I'm like, well, I'm sure it'll still be prepared 4 days into my trip, and I'll just come then and it'll be fine.
And it's your trip. You get to decide who you see and what you do.
Exactly. So I was just kind of ignoring his his disappointment. And I went, and actually that same person, my mate who I was staying with, just came and picked me up at the airport, went to her place. It was great. And the second day I was there, we had organized a barbecue so that everybody who wanted to see me could see me like in one space, in one place, make it easy so I didn't have to hop around a lot of places. Mm-hmm. It was a combination of like my friends, his friends, all the mutuals, And that was,
it was a Joe party.
Yeah, a Joe party. I've had more than one. People like to throw me parties when I visit places. It's pretty nice.
Nice life, Joe. Nice life.
So we had the party, and it went really well. We're all getting along, and so I see my ex there. Of course, it's actually he held it at his house. So I was there with my friends, and we were having a really good time. Everything seemed great. He didn't even seem weird or anything. Like he was cool partying. We're just having a good time. And when it was over, we all decided, like, okay, let's go to town now. We're going to go out and go party because that's what we used to do when we were together. We'd go to this place called Stratumseind, which is like the bars and clubs and stuff that you go to. And we're like, let's go back to our old hangs. Right? So, my closest mates that were at the party were like, yeah, let's do this. And then my ex was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay home. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm going to clean up and stay home. And I was like, oh, okay, you do you. So we go out to party, hanging out at our old hangs, and we end up at a place that we've used to hang all the time, which was the pool hall / laser quest, where you play some pool and then go shoot some lasers at each other.
Yes.
Sounds very Merkin. I don't know. Are you sure you were in the Netherlands?
I was indeed in the Netherlands because at this pool hall, they served alcohol to me when I was 13. So, yeah.
Yep, you were in the Netherlands. That's the test.
And it was down the street from the Bakkerij, which is the coffee shop, the local coffee shop,
Okay.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. I thought they were all called Grasshopper or something like that.
I mean, they're called totally different things depending on who you're talking to and what region you're in. So that place was called the Bakkerij, which means the bakery, which is just pleasant to me. I love that play on.
You go to get baked, right?
Pretty good.
Yeah. So this little Stratumseind, we go down to the pool hall. We walk up the stairs, we walk in, and I see to my right, which is where the bar was, my ex playing pool with his friends at this pool hall. And I was like, oh, you're tired, huh? And I'm 18, I'm unruly, whatever. I was bothered by the fact that he lied to me because that's like one of my triggers. I'm like, you can tell me the truth. If it upsets me, it upsets me, but tell me the truth because lies absolutely upset me. And so I walked up to him. All my mates were like, wide-eyed, like, oh, I can swear, right? Because I'm gonna.
Oh my goodness!
I thought I heard some swears in the podcast.
Listen, we didn't take that explicit rating and then expect people not to swear. We got to use that because there are people who won't listen to us because it says explicit. So we got to make sure we're taking full.
Great, because more swears will come as this happens. But yeah, my mates were giving me that oh shit look. Like, oh shit, what's she gonna do? Like, is this bad? What is this? And he saw me and he's like, oh shit, I've been caught. So I walked up to him and I was upset, but at the same time, I kind of guessed what was going on. But I went up to him and I said, so what you doing here? I thought you were going to stay home. And he admitted like, seeing you was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I really was upset that you weren't staying with me. And, like the whole, it comes out, what you kind of expect comes out. And I was like, okay, I get that. But you lied. And that's like not going to win me back if you're lying to me about something that simple. So like, I don't know what your plan was here. And it was especially ridiculous because going out to town, if he were going to anticipate where I might be, that is 100% the place I would be. I would totally, I'm like, this is the place I'm going to go at least once that evening. Like, there are so many places he could have gone with his friends and avoided me and like kept the lie going. But no, he was there. So
it almost makes you think he wanted to be caught.
I think you're right. I think he may have wanted to be. I think he wanted me to find out that he was upset. I mean, I would guess that. So I was like, well, that's good for you. You do you. Hang out with your friends, whatever. I'm going to hang out with my friends now. I'm going to go drink. that's where, this is where I believe the real mistakes happened. So I go up to the bar and I do one of those, I just want the strongest drink you can make me, to the bartender. And for the first time in all of my years ordering beverages in the Netherlands, he carded me.
Oh, wow.
I was like, fortunately, I was of age, but it was like a funny thing. I'm like, for the first time. And I'm like, is it because I ordered the hardest thing you could sell me in English? Like, were you just like, who's this foreigner coming to take advantage?
What's the Dutch version of a Long Island iced tea?
I mean, yeah. So the guy makes me this drink and he's like, I can make you something. I got this specialty, but it makes 5 shots. So you got to share. Do you have friends? Does anybody else want one? And I had friends. I had a whole pile with me. So I
have friends?
I got friends.
No, what do you say? What do you say? Of course I have friends. I have some mates and some friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Interchangeably. So we get the shots, but actually only 2 of my mates partook. So I ended up drinking the rest.
Nice.
So that's how the drinking of the night really got started. And it just continued from there because we were hopping to different clubs and tons of people were coming out to see me. Like people were coming and going, because they knew I was in town. They were looking for me. And everybody who saw me was like, let me buy you a drink.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And
you're too popular at this point.
it's a problem. And I cannot say no because I have a reputation of being able to drink that much. So so it was something that I can't
disappoint people.
No.
Can't disappoint these people. They came so far. So we're just drinking through the night, and one of my mates had come in at a little bit of money, and all she wanted to do was spend it on partying. So she kept on buying stuff too. So we're just
that's a good friend to have in your repertoire right there. Like, yeah.
She is a good woman for sure. We had such a great time. And actually the whole night I was doing really well because I was like drinking, but moving and going to places and not just like shots after shots. So I wasn't feeling like I was going too far or anything, but I was in a state of duress and I was like, I was upset about my ex and I was still like having some things about my dad and so I was a little emotional drowning, that kind of experience. And, but I remember the whole night, I remember conversations I had with people. I remember everybody I saw, every club we went to, the songs we danced to, like everything is feeling like a good, smooth, good, hard partying night.
Right. You're not blackout at all.
Right. I was very aware, and people didn't realize how drunk I was either. A lot of people, as we were meeting up with them, they were like coming up to me and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And a few minutes in, I'd be like, "Oh, this is my 20th shot tonight," and they were like,
"Jesus Christ!"
Oh my God.
They were shocked. Like, really, you seem fine. And I felt it. I was having a great time, but I was very aware. And we shut it down. I mean, they don't really close the bars really officially there, but we were out all night and then we biked home because that's what you do.
Okay.
I biked on the back of my friend's bike. The way these Dutch bikes are, they have these saddles. And you're supposed to put grocery bags or whatever, but people just hop on the back and ride it.
Love it.
It's really great. It's a really good time. And we biked back to my friend's house that I was staying at. And I was like, whatever hour in the morning, I don't know. And I was starting to really get wobbly and I was ready. I was like, yeah, that was a rough ride home. I gotta take a shower is what I decided. I was feeling dirty. And it's whatever hour in the morning. And so this is my mate's mother's house, right? So her mother's there. She's asleep. And it's a 3-story house. And we were sleeping in the second story. That's where the bathroom was. So I get a towel and get my way into the bathroom. I managed to get into the shower without any clothes on. I was pretty successful to this point. Nice. And my mate went to bed. She was like, I'm done. And went and passed out. So I turn on the shower. I get my showering part done. I wash my hair. And then I got tired and I was feeling woozy. And I was like, this shower is so comfortable. So I sat down and this is a regular shower. It's not a tub. It's a shower it's just a curtain. It's a 3x3, whatever, just basic shower. And I just sit down. And then the next thing, I wake up.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I wake up to the sound of what I thought was maybe rain.
Oh no.
Pitter pattering like on a puddle. And I realize I'm sitting in a pool of water.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
And in my drunken state, I'm like, oh no, I clogged the shower drain. What's going on? You know, I'm waking up still drunk. And I realized that when I fell asleep with my butt perfectly on the drain.
The drain.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Plugging the drain.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How long had you been asleep, Joe?
Well, we do not know, but I had no idea. I have no idea. Maybe an hour, maybe something like yeah.
Lord.
So I don't know at this point, right? The evidence comes to indicate it's an hour. I stand up, I let the water drain, I turn off the shower. I step out of the shower into another pool of water.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh,
At least an inch, at least. And I'm pretty sure more, you know. And I'm like, oh no. I flooded the bathroom. Again, I'm so drunk. I'm still so drunk.
Oh no.
And so I just desperately start trying to shovel the water.
of course.
You know, like just with my hands, like shoveling it into the shower.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shoveling it into
Sure.
the tub. In my drunken state, I thought, can I sop this up with my towel? So I dropped the towel.
Joe,
I couldn't.
No. You might be able to soak it up and then wring it out and soak it up and wring it out. And after about 6 hours, you'd have most of that up.
I was like, I don't know. But despite my drunkenness and despite my towel being soaked within a couple seconds of the attempt, I got it mostly dry. I was like, yeah, good for me. That's great. Okay. So
That's good.
So I like finished myself up. I put my clothes on and then I opened the bathroom door and I step out into a soggy carpet.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
Oh my God. Yeah.
oh no. I flooded the hallway.
Oh, shit.
And I was like,
Oh,
oh
boy.
no, and the only towel I had was the one I had already used. So I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. I gotta find more towels, you know? I had no idea. And it's this is kind of a thinnish carpet and it was like soaked, like I was squishing down, you know, as I'm stepping out.
Oh my God.
And I just, okay, I don't know what to do. All right. So I go toward, if I go down the hallway, the staircase is to the right and the bedroom's to the left. And as I head, I hear the trickle of water.
Oh no.
You made a waterfall.
This is getting worse and worse.
And it unfolded to my poor drunk self. I was like from one bad situation into the next. And then I come to the staircase at the top of the stairs and it's only lit by the light of the hallway. So I can see that the water has pooled on the staircase and was dripping down the staircase like a glorious little stream.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
So, and I was like, I flooded the stairs.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh crap.
I was like, oh no, I don't even, and I'm still, like I said, I'm so drunk still that I'm like, I don't even know how I should handle this. So I didn't. I went to bed.
Oh my God.
You know what? Honestly, that I would have either done that or went back to sleep in the shower. Pretend like I didn't know that any of this had happened.
I might have set the place on fire.
Or just left.
If you set the place on fire, here's what happens, right? You get it going, nice and bright. Then you go and you rescue the people in the house, and they call the fire department, and they spray a bunch of water, and nobody knows the difference, right? You're a hero. There's, the water damage is expected because, yeah.
I'm going to change my answer. That's brilliant.
I really wish I'd thought of that. I was mortified, but also too drunk to bother at that point. I did my best. I was very proud of getting the bathroom.
Did your best.
Hey, I shoveled the water into that shower like a champ. Okay, I did my best. All right,
You did.
We can only expect that much.
That's right. So you went to bed.
So I went to bed.
Got a nice sleep.
Oh yeah. I went to bed until like 12 noon. And then my mate gently and kindly wakes me up And I'm like, hey. She's like, hey, you up? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, are you okay? It's like, no, I'm so hungover and I think I'm still drunk. And she's like, did you take a shower last night? Yeah. And I mean, I'm like, yes, I took a shower. And she's like, so, and I said, I passed out in the shower. I start confessing to her. She's like, I know. My mom, so her mom had cleaned it up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
These Dutch, I tell you, that no, they're on it.
So my mate proceeds to tell me like, yeah, so my mom was really worried because, the downstairs was flooded. And
you never even ventured to the bottom of the stairs to see what the situation was down there, huh?
I couldn't face it.
Wow.
So much water, Joe.
So much water. That's why I assume at least an hour, And so she's telling me basically, so the flood went all the way to the front room.
The flood. No doubt.
To the front room and all the way, so down into the front room it flooded and then in a little bit into the living room. So the room adjacent to the front room is the living room and it kind of made it like not quite to the couch. So still, that's a lot of square footage that I covered with the water, including an antique chest that was like below the staircase.
For sure. Yeah.
That broke my heart. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
And your heart, huh?
Yeah, my heart. This is about me. Okay,
it is about you.
I was going through some stuff. I'm having a hard time.
Oh, brilliant! Yes.
I was so embarrassed. I felt so bad. But the thing was also, so there are a couple things in my favor in this experience because Dutch houses are actually kind of built to take on water. Because it's
now. Are you in Amsterdam?
I was in Eindhoven.
Okay,
which is
that an area that has dikes around it? And no, it's you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well,
Kat, don't look at me like that.
So
I wasn't.
Oh my God.
I've heard that expression before.
Well, the thing is that those are actually in the northern part, but the whole country is below sea level.
Right.
And if those dikes were not there, the whole country would be underwater.
See, I've often said they're great people. I mean, oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kat. I'm sorry.
You don't have. I mean, sometimes you can let those just go by.
Can I though? I mean, maybe I should.
You could try.
Can I? Can I? I don't think so.
Anyway,
so that was like in my favor because the house itself was like ready to be dried. Like it's got tile floors. The carpet was like whatever, it just dried. And her mom like did a great job cleaning it up because I found no evidence when I finally got out of bed. There was no evidence of what I had done. It was as if she took a blow dryer to the whole place.
That's amazing.
And then when I talked to her to apologize, she was like, I'm just glad you're okay. That's dangerous. If you had fallen asleep and then your face had gone in the water, you could have drowned because you were, and I was like, really?
This woman's a saint.
Real saint. And also she was, she in prior years had some alcoholism and some things with that. So she actually had a lot of empathy for the situation as well.
Okay.
So I had like these things in my favor, because it was literally like the second night I'd stayed there and I'd flooded the whole place.
You might have had to get back together with your ex at this point.
I'm like, sorry, I actually have to stay with you after all.
Yep.
So suffice it to say, I bought that woman the largest bouquet of flowers I could find at the market and wrote her a note.
I might have gotten her an industrial fan, Joe. I'm just saying.
Dehumidifier. I got her this giant thing of flowers, wrote her a note, and I offered, like, if there was any damage, I would pay her for the damage, whatever damage. But she's like, I'm just glad you're okay.
Wow.
Like,
fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
best of all possible scenarios for
it was
drunken shower flooding.
It was intense. And it's and it's also a statement about my butt and how grand it really is, because it really plugged that thing up.
Listen, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of butt to do that. I'm just saying. It's like a small amount of butt properly positioned can block a drain. I'm not speaking from experience, mind you, but yeah.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, the mistake, of course, was the drinking so much that I passed out in the shower. But of course, you could pull whichever one you want out of that and take whatever lesson you want to take if you want to take a lesson.
Sometimes we learn things on the My Mistake podcast.
Yeah.
Frequently, we talk about things where the things where we did learn things. So if drinking until you passed out was a bad thing and you learned that, then great.
I mostly learned that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mostly learned that.
Wow. That's, yeah. So the Dutch townhouse waterfall. I like it.
It was it's a story I told many, many, many times actually, because I was like, you can't not tell people how you flooded your friend's house. Let's just make people feel better. I do have another story where I clearly didn't learn my lesson about drinking in the light of
sometimes it takes more than once.
In the light of exes, actually. So it ties in. I thought these things through, I was like, are there stories that tie into other stories? And
love it when the guest brings a theme.
So
that's fantastic.
The theme here is like exes and drinking, like drinking because of your ex, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't learned my lesson because this is after the flooding. This is
got it. Post flood.
We're hearing these in chronological order. This is good.
My life is like the Bible, like pre and post flood, right?
Sure. I like it. Okay. I like it. It's all Old Testament so far, though.
So we're getting into the New Testament. Still in my youth, still in my I think early 20s or something. So just a couple of years after this waterfall. Mm-hmm. And I had this boyfriend who was not very nice. He wasn't a good person. He wasn't nice to me, but I was still, locked in, and like really in love and like didn't want anything to end. And so when he broke up with me, it was actually really good for me, but I was really upset about it. So I immediately called some of my friends up and I was like, so he broke up with me, and they tried really hard to stifle their cheering, but they were pretty excited too.
Sure.
Because they were like,
well, you got to be careful with that. If you express your joy too soon, then they can get back together. And now you're the guy who, said all the mean shit about the guy who you're now back with.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to spoil the story and say that we did eventually get back together. And all of my mates were always verbal about it. They were verbal when I was with him because it was the kind of situation where like I couldn't even really spend time with, I did, but whenever I'd spend time with my mates, he'd call and be like, who are you with? Do I hear a guy in the background? That kind of stuff.
Oh, the jealous
guy.
Not good.
Super jealous. Yeah. And that does tie into the story. So I had gone to his place when he broke up with me, so I like turned around and left because I drove all the way to him just to get broken up with. Didn't know it until I got there, and drove back. Called one of my mates on the way, and at first I was like feeling, okay, this is good. I'm just gonna have some friends over, and we're gonna get over it, and forget our woes. So we picked up a bottle of tequila. And we went back to my place, and I invited two of my good mates over that were pretty much, if I called them, they were around, like those people, the ones that are always there. And
love those people.
One of them brought Southern Comfort.
Oh boy.
Boy.
Yeah, I was expecting that reaction.
Yeah.
Because if you know Southern Comfort, you know.
It's too sweet, Joe.
It's way too sweet.
It's like me. It's too sweet.
Bad.
Way too sweet. And I had never had it before this night. I didn't know what was going on. He brought the SoCo and what was it, Dr. Pepper or something to mix it with.
Oh yeah, because that's what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have tequila and SoCo.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh,
just making sure I got this right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You are correct, Saul. So then we go to my house and we start drinking. And I did get upset, but I was still not, I still hadn't had the, why doesn't he love me or whatever. That I didn't go through that. I was still just fuck him, forget him, fuck him, let's drink it, forget him. And my mates were so on board with that theme. they were all about it. They're like, yeah, fuck this guy. We hated this guy. So like late getting into the night, I'm like nice and toasted. And then he called me.
Oh.
And they were like, don't answer it. Don't answer it. And I was like, no, I have to. I have to answer. Answer this phone call. And so I took my phone and I disappeared. They stayed in the downstairs, and then I went up to my room to take this phone call. And he's like, hey, so how are you doing? I just wanted to check in, and it's kind of weird. I'm like, you broke up with me and you're checking in on me. Like, what is this? But in my drunken state, I was just like, he called me. Maybe he's like changed his mind or whatever. And he says, I didn't tell him I'd been drinking, but at some point he's like, are you drunk?
Some sort of clue tipped him off.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would have been, Joe. I mean,
whatever. I slurred something. I don't know. It tipped him off. Maybe it was my like laughing randomly, or my kind of strange reaction to his call in the first place, or my inability to understand where I was and who I was.
What's happening? Who am I?
While I was talking to him in this drunken state, just telling him like, it's cool, life's good, don't worry about me, you worry about you. I decided that was the right time. We don't know why I decided this, to put on this pair of boots that were too small for my feet and too tall for me to walk in. They were like these 4-inch heels that some friend of mine gave me, and I hadn't tried them on yet. So while I'm on the phone with my ex, very, very drunk, this is the time to try on these boots. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. So I'm trying on these boots. I'm talking to him and I'm walking around in these boots, talking to him on the phone, having a good old drunk time. And then I was like, these boots are too tight. I got to take them off now. And in addition to being too tight already, my feet are nice and swollen from the alcohol consumption.
The boozahol.
Right? And so I sit down on the floor and proceed to like violently yank these boots off my feet.
Sure, yeah.
Because they just weren't going to come off easily. And as I'm taking the second boot off, I legitimately kick myself in the face with this boot.
God.
Smack it in the face. Like, right in the lip. Right in there. Teeth puncturing right in the lip.
Oh
boy.
And that's the moment that it all hits me. And I just, and I go into the drunken, ugly cry. I don't understand why you left me. I never did anything. All those things you accused me of. Whatever. I went off and I was crying. And I was like, I'm going to go now. And I hung up.
Now, when you said you kicked yourself, did you hit yourself in the mouth with the boot, or was your foot still legit in the boot? Because I'm impressed if you kicked yourself in the mouth.
So here, you can visually see.
Careful.
You can visually see.
I totally
that I
can.
have my foot up by my face, and anybody who cannot
certainly
see,
do.
I've always been rather flexible, and so while I was taking my boot off,
this is impressive.
I was taking it off very close to my face. He was on a speakerphone. You see, I didn't need both hands.
Right.
So I did it with the boot, but it was like right up there in my face.
Still kind of on your foot, right? Yeah. Okay. That's impressive. I used to be able to put my feet behind my head. I cannot do that any longer, but once upon a time I could.
I can still do it, and I work hard to keep that flexibility intact.
Excellent.
But yeah, I was legit kicking myself in the face.
Oh no. So now you got a bloody lip.
Yeah.
You're crying.
Swollen.
And
Ooh.
Yep. And you're crying and you hang up on the X. Yeah.
Go downstairs to my mates that were waiting for me to get off the phone, and then they look at me like, you were gone for like 10 minutes. What the fuck? Like,
how did he punch you through the phone?
Exactly. They're like, he did it. Did he show up here? What happened? Like they legit, their first thought was like, but wait, you didn't have that earlier, And I was like, I kicked myself in the face. Oh man, I mean, we had a really good laugh about it. We were like crying, laughing. It was so funny. I kicked myself in the face. And I still think it's like that was one of the funniest things I ever did to myself, because I've injured myself plenty, but kicking myself in the face, come on.
It's pretty great.
It's pretty good.
You didn't take a shower after?
No.
Okay, good.
I only ever took a shower one other time while drunk, but I had a friend who was very closely watching me that time. So
nice. Nice. I like to
Lesson
shower
learned.
while someone watches me because I feel like that's not creepy at all.
well, it's a good thing she did because I absolutely would have passed out in that shower. So.
There we go. All right. Excellent. You shower with a buddy.
So like
saves lives.
Oh yeah, shower with a buddy. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the night. The night ends. We all pass out, whatever, and I wake up. My lip is like super swollen, super bad. There's not much I can do about it. It's just a big old obvious fat lip, but for sure looks like somebody punched me in the mouth. And
of course, you can see your heartbeat in it. I just see dum 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 dum. Yep.
But I had like a couple days before I had to go back to work.
Okay.
But a couple days wasn't enough. So by the time I went back to work, I still had this big fat dark lip. And of course, the people I worked with, we were all close. So everybody knew my business. They knew that I had this boyfriend that wasn't very good. But he had never, I'm going to establish, he had never hit me. He was, that was not his MO. But when I showed up to work with a big fat lip, everybody I worked with was like their hair stood up and they were like ready to find this guy. Like, what did he do? And I was like, no. It wasn't him. It was me. I kicked myself in the face.
And they're like, yeah, sure you did. Where is this guy?
Didn't.
And they were like, oh, you walked into a doorknob, like, like, no.
I fell down some stairs.
No, I'm like, no. Really, truly. Like, please don't think this is me being that person who like is trying to cover up. Like, no. I kicked myself in the face. I have witnesses that at least know I was at home when I went upstairs and came down, like
by yourself.
After he came in the window, punched you in the mouth, and then left, then you went downstairs.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So that was like, I had to tell for the next like several days, anybody who saw me, I was like, no, I kicked myself in the face because they were all concerned that it was him. And I was like, look, he was a bad guy, but he didn't do this to me. So please do not find him. Please do not kill him. And just to put a little cherry on the top of the whole experience, the guy who brought the SoCo to my house was a really good friend of mine. And like the next day or the day after that, he had gone to drink with his buddies. And they decided to have a little Fight Club moment in the parking lot. So, and he and I worked together. So when he came to work, he had a black eye. And I was like, dude, let's just tell them that we fought it out in the parking lot.
Let's just tell them you're in his Fight Club.
Yeah, let's just tell them it was us doing it together. And we just walked around with our, battered faces for a couple days. And yeah, it was that was my bad. I kicked myself in the face.
But you did get back together with the guy after
I did eventually get back together with him. It was not a long time, but like several months later, which was a mistake as well.
There we go. I always like to compound the mistakes if I can,
I mean, that was like, oh man, that whole relationship could be like an entire like load of mistakes on my end. But also at the same time, I'm the kind of person where like those mistakes really taught me what I needed, what I wanted, who I was, like who I am, and what there's a word that some of our friends like to throw on what I require. And so actually, even though I went back to him, and funny, both times he broke up with me because at the end of the day, he had his own issues he was dealing with. And that was part of like his journey and why he was the way he was.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
So he actually knew I was like too good for him. In a sense, or at least that with me, he was not a good person and I didn't deserve to be in that. Right. So I give that guy a lot of credit for how he turned his life around and all of that. But the second time he broke up with me, I literally was like, all right. And I partied. I was okay with that the second time. And then shortly after that relationship, I had a very short relationship with someone who started showing those signs really early of like that, kind of abusive experience. And because I had the experience, I quickly cut that cord. I didn't even wait to see what was going to happen. I was like,
good for you.
It
really, it was definitely an experience that taught me a lot about people and like how people are and whether or not they, can or want to change, where they're coming from. And so it was like, something I don't regret it, I absolutely have no regret about that experience, however bad it may have gotten, because at the end of the day, my life is better for it.
For sure. No, I mean, it's one of the themes of the My Mistake podcast is that it's not just dumb shit I did. Sometimes it's just dumb shit I did, but other times it's like, I learned from this and I never made that mistake again, or I made a mistake that was similar but different enough that, it didn't cost me everything or whatever. Yeah. So this is great. We are learning from our mistakes.
I'll tell you for sure that I did not drink Southern Comfort ever again.
That's good.
Lesson learned. That's
no good can come from that. Yeah. It's like super alcoholic Coca-Cola, really. Yeah. or just the syrup that they use to make Coca-Cola.
Yeah, syrup and moonshine or something. It's intense.
Yeah. It's enough already. So all right. I hate to go to the well too many times. We've had 2 under the influence stories. Is there another under the influence story or another X story or another?
Let's see.
Any story?
I mean, I have a really, really short one that is super short because it's just a moment of brain lapse, if you'd like to hear. Okay. And I'm totally sober in this story. And if it does tie into the X in that it happened at a time between this guy when I dated someone else. Mm-hmm. And so I used to smoke cigarettes. It's actually, my smoking cigarettes is directly attributed to how bad my life is going, because I started smoking when my father passed, and I smoked until one day I was like, I'm done with these. And I handed them to the person that was with me, and that was it. I was done.
Nice.
Because I guess
you're a vocalist. You should not be smoking.
Well, I mean, I know some really great vocalists that smoke. Yeah. So I mean, but it definitely was for the better overall. Every reason is better. I'm no regrets about that either. But when I did smoke, I had a great old time. I was like into it. I smoked in my car. I smoked with friends. I'd get like buddies together in the car and we'd drive around, and all we do is like smoke cigarettes. And I had inherited my car from my sister, who also had smoked cigarettes in that car. So I didn't care. Mm-hmm. That was like, whatever, this is a trash. Like, who cares? And
driving around in an ashtray.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And instead of having an actual ashtray, I would get like these giant like sodas from, whatever the gas station. And I would just put my cigarette out in the lid, and whatever leftover liquid was at the bottom would be the thing that put the cigarette out.
Right.
And I would make these trashy ash cups, like, they would accumulate over time.
For sure.
And I would always have like 1 cup for my beverage and 1 cup for my ashtray. And
got to keep those separated.
I mean, well, yeah, I got to keep them separated. And one day I was driving to pick up this guy to go on a date. And as I'm like pulling up to him, like he's there waiting for me, I see him, I'm pulling up. I grab my soda to take a sip, and I grabbed the wrong cup. And I mean, so I basically pulled over, opened my door, started spitting violently into the ground while this guy's like...
I like this as a first impression for a date. That's good.
The good news is I knew the guy already, but this was like a kind of first date moment for us. Like, we hadn't been on a date yet. Mm-hmm. So I was like just spitting out the car. He's like, what happened? I was like, I drank the ashtray. I drank it.
I drank the ashtray.
It was really bad. I will never forget the taste of the ashtray.
I can only imagine.
Listen, I went to college in a small Midwestern town, and many of us used to dip snuff or chew tobacco, that kind of thing. It was really not uncommon for somebody to reach for what they thought was a beer and turned out to be a spit cup. Yep. That was that happened every Tuesday. It was just
a regular Tuesday night.
Regular Tuesday. Yep.
Awful.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Mm-hmm. Oh. It is. It was. I'm very happy. I smoked cigarettes for 20 years and quit. And it's been 15 years since I quit. So I'm pleased about that.
Very cool.
Yeah. I started smoking when I was 6 months old. So
that adds up now. I was wondering about the math. Mm-hmm. I was really like,
yeah, I don't want to give away my age.
Did you have gum in the car, Joe? Were you able to?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there was kissing eventually. It wasn't like date's over before it starts kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was, especially then when I was a smoker, I had like a pack of gum all the time because even being a smoker, I was like not fond of the breath. I even, unless I was like having a night, I would actually put my hoodie up over my head so that I wouldn't even like have as much in my hair.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I did have some gum, very fortunately, and I chugged the soda that I meant to drink.
The actual soda.
Soda. I confirmed.
Yeah, you found out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my. Yeah, that's I have very fond memories of driving around in my buddy's old beater car, smoking cigarettes. At that time, listening to REM for some reason. That was what was big. It was like Life's Rich Pageant was the album. And of course it was on cassette because we didn't have, you couldn't play anything else in a car.
Oh yeah. This old Saturn I was driving had a cassette player. Yeah.
Nice. Saturn hadn't even been invented yet when I was doing this.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was your pack of choice, Joe? What'd you smoke?
I was a Camels person.
Me too. Camel Lights, baby.
Yeah, like a lot of the different kinds they came out with because they got me with their marketing. When they did these like Camel, I think it was like Camel 99s or something, and they came with like a black and pink package. And I was like, oh yes, please, black and pink.
Yep.
And they kind of tasted like cheap Camel Lights. They weren't even as good as Camel Lights, but
they looked cool.
But they looked so cool, and I felt so cool popping them out and being like, "Those are my Camels," with my pink and black. It was, and then they had a menthol version that was like teal and black. But I wasn't big on menthol, but yeah, Camels and Camel Silvers I remember, and Camel Wides when I was feeling real frisky.
Oh, the Wides.
Camel Wides. I accidentally bought a pack of Wides, and my friends at the time were like, "Oh, can't get enough nicotine at once, huh? Got to get the Wides." I'm like, "It was an accident. I couldn't afford to not smoke them.
No, right.
Like, what
Once
am I going to do?"
them, yeah.
It's like, why do I need this much nicotine at one time?
I cannot make fun of your choice of cigarettes because I smoked Jarum Blacks, which are clove cigarettes. And they came in like a black package with a silver, like aluminum foil insert stuff. And and I had like a matte black Zippo lighter to go with it. And it was and I wore all black at the time. So, Kat, did you know me when I only wore all black?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. I feel like you did. Because it really didn't, I didn't stop that until like right before I got married, I think.
I feel like that's when I first met you, was right before you guys got married.
Right before we got married. That's probably true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I know you better, Joe.
Yeah, we learned a lot about you, Joe.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. But, I bet there are people out there who would like to get to know you even better. And in order to achieve that, why don't you plug some pluggables? Tell us where we can find your work, where we can hear you sing, see your videos. What's going on?
Oh, great. Yeah, I've got lots of online presence. Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
Lots of it.
Let's hear about it.
So I've got my website is a really great place to go to see it all because that's where I put all the things. So it's joenagle.com.
Right. JONAGLE.
That's correct.
.com.
That's right. And as a musician, I work with a lot of people. And I don't have as much out solo yet, but I will have stuff coming out solo as Joe Nagle. And I do have a Spotify right now that if they would like to go and start following that, then they'll know very quickly when the music actually comes out. I have 2 songs on there now. One is a Christmas song and one is a cover that I did with a really good mate of mine. And it's a cover of Across the Universe, really fun bass and vocal.
Nice.
And if they want to follow me on the social medias, there are a couple places because as well as being a musician, I am like an online persona as a sort of offshoot from my husband's channel on YouTube. And they call me Nene, which that came about as it means grandmother moon, but it came about because his channel is iFondo. And then out of they called him Dede, which is grandfather moon. And it's sort of like endearing. So they were being endearing to him. He had a lot of younger fans and he was, older than a lot of his fans. So Dede.
And this is Turkish, right?
Yes, it's in Turkish. Pardon me. Yeah. This one's in, which language is Joe speaking now? We don't know.
It's special Joe language.
So it came out of that. And it's, I have a YouTube channel that is I am Nene, which is like I am. And then Nene is spelled AYNINE. kind of like A9. Some people
which all this time I did not know the origin, and I am A9 is the way that I was saying that in my head.
Yeah, that's a very very English speaker way to pronounce it. Totally legitimate.
I might have thought I9, but
I mean, but there is already an I9, so I couldn't do that.
It couldn't be that.
But so there's that's a YouTube channel, that's like Instagram, it's Facebook, and then as Joe Nagle Music, it's all Joe Nagle Music. So you can discover me in these places, see what's going on. I do on my YouTube channel, my Einen YouTube channel, I like interview other musicians, some of the people that have been guests on your show, and I do like drum cover videos and vlogs and stuff. And
that's the Flourish?
Yeah, the Flourish. Yeah, that's interviewing musicians about their instrument. And that's cool. YouTube, and you can find it. But if you just want to go to the one link, just find it. The website's great because I put everything there for people to click through and find it. So it's nice and simple.
JoeNagle.com.
Yeah,
sweet,
easy.
Love it. All right, well, we're getting close to the end here. And this is the part where, especially when we have a first-time guest, we like to put them on the spot and see how much research they've done, because we have a signature sign-off here at the My Mistake Podcast. And we know it's an hour-long podcast. Not everybody makes it to the end. And if you've only made it to the end of one, you might not know that it was like a thing that we do all the time, except that you would have heard someone else get grilled the same way. So, Joe, do you know what the My Mistake signature sign-off is?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fair. You are not the first, and you will not be the last. The former vice president of these United States hails from my home state of Indiana, and he was the governor of that place. And in every single office he's ever held, he has demonstrated a level of ignorance and hatred, all wrapped up in a nice religious, seeming package where, he seems like a very nice, God-fearing man. But in fact, he hates the gays, and he does all kind of and in this month especially, we like to express our disdain, for him. Do you know of whom I'm speaking?
All of them?
Oh, well, this one in particular, his name is Mike Pence.
Okay.
And we're very unfond of Mike Pence, and we like to make sure that people know about that.
Okie dokie.
And we can't think of a better way to kind of say what we do stand for than to sort of voice who we don't stand with in this case. And so as a result, our signature sign-off is either the three letters FMP or what they stand for. Now, to save at least 1 point on the quiz, what do you think the letters FMP might stand for?
I'm going to guess it's fuck Mike Pence.
That's correct. Fuck Mike Pence.
Fuck Mike Pence.
Fuck Mike Pence.
We have now made an episode of the My Mistake Podcast.
Thanks, Joe.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.